Hello, listeners, and welcome to another exciting episode of Loss of Lieutenant. This is episode 127, N5 spoilers, where we will be talking about a lot of the new rules that are very exciting coming into N5, and also talking about some profiles that my fellow hosts Tristan
Hello.
and Jacob find particularly interesting. But before we are allowed to get into all of that, there is, of course, some boring housekeeping that we do have to get through. Looking at our quarterly challenge N5 edition, you got more time with this, as CB have unfortunately decided that we do not get nice things, and we do have to wait another 3 to 4 weeks until we actually get our hands on N5, but that's fine. We're patient people. Not really. I want a hole in my wall. However, N5 wish list. Send us your ideas for how you would improve the game. How would you have changed guided martial arts fire teams? What new skills, new weapons, and new profiles do you want to see? There's still plenty of time for new weapons, new skills, and new profiles, as I think we're getting new stuff every day, essentially, to kind of hold us over.
Yep.
And along with that, we want to hear your first impressions about N5. We want to hear about your first battle report, your first game of N5, battle report after a few games of N5, and the most creative use of the superior hexagonal terrain that comes with Operation Sandtrap. We want you to send those submissions to us over at lossoflieutenant@gmail.com. Jumping off of that as well, if you do just want to talk about things on the Discord, you can join the Discord. There's a link in the description that Tristan will make sure is a working link this time. And if you want to be...
It's been working for like 3 or 4 weeks.
Working. Yeah. It's been working?
I double check it every time now.
You have to at this point.
Just to make sure you do the link that doesn't expire.
Yes.
Exactly. And jumping off of that as well, if you want to be a little more intimate with us, your lovely hosts, if you want to be in the episodes as we're recording them, asking us questions, annoying us, calling us dumb and stupid, you can go over to patreon.com/lossoflieutenant and become one of our lovely cocks for the low price of $3 a month, I believe it is, and that will get you access to the special role on the Discord and the ability to see episodes early, provided we record them on time, which doesn't always happen because we aren't great at this still.
No, we're getting our chops in before N5 drops, and that's when all the professional content starts coming
That's when all the professional content is just going to be a fucking pipeline.
All right.
Going off of that, though, we have upcoming events, which I'm going to hand off to Tristan.
I will just say beforehand, guys, if you hear something in this episode like a certain person is want to do, and it annoys you, and it bothers you to your core, head over to the Discord, hit the episode discussion tab, and just vent to us. We love it. We love to hear it. Or if you want to say nice things to us as well, we would really appreciate that. But, send us...
So rarely nice things said about us. Especially Tristan.
Yeah. Okay. All right, moving on to upcoming events. We have a couple that you've probably heard many times before. We have CanCon 2025, maybe N5, Jan 25th and 26th at the Epic Park in Canberra.
There.
Well, at the rate it's going, we don't know, do we?
Don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
We predict too many things. We've cursed the Infinity community.
We don't get a lot of them right, let's be real. We just make a sheer number of predictions that just so happens we get a couple.
Yeah,
hopefully this isn't one of them.
The Texas sharpshooter fallacy.
So CanCon, you know what it is, you love it. 300 points, maybe N5 rules, missions maybe to be announced when N5 comes out. Tickets available to purchase through CanCon website. Very nice. I believe, Jordan, you're organising accommodation for us young Victorians.
Yeah, for whoever jumps on it by probably the end of the week, honestly, at this point. See if I can get a nice little Black Friday deal.
I can say it's a banging time, guys. It's really good. And then the Super Beginner Friendly Tournament at the Squablin Goblin in Massachusetts on December 8th. 3 rounds, 300 points, 2 lists, modified Resops. Maybe that could be the cool custom mission we showcased a few weeks ago that had a modified Resops. But whatever that means, that's what you're playing. All right, guys, moving on to something you've heard before, but has been updated. We have the Risky Rollers Annual 2024, which so happens to now be the Loss of Lieutenant Custom Mission Tournament. So we have picked 3 amazing missions from the Custom Mission Challenge 2024, those being Biosample, which is flip switches with lethal side effects after the first flip, We have a Song of Ice and Firefight, which is highly classified, but with the Resilience Ops Tactical Objectives deck and more player agency. And last but not least, we have everyone's favorite mission. It's Mega Turret. What
I
if
don't think
looting?
I don't think I've seen more discourse in like both group chat and episode discussion than like everything that has been said
Mega-turret.
about Mega Turret.
Oh, I got a beating about Mega Turret.
You got a fucking caning.
I got a caning. What if looting and sabotaging, but with really, really, really beefed up security systems? I
It's
can
attack.
Looting and sabotaging, but the AC2 can really hit you back.
looting and sabotaging, but strap a big old gun to that bitch. So those are the 3 custom missions we'll be playing for Risky Rollers Annual. A lovely local from Victoria is printing us a custom Mega Turret as a door not a door prize, but everyone gets one. So whoever attends the tournament will get their own Mega Turret. It is happening on the 14th of December at the Gaming Arena in North Coburg. $50 tickets, including a catered lunch, and all profits go towards the Smith Family, which helps young Australians overcome educational equality caused by poverty. All the details are on the Facebook event. They are also in the Victorian Discords, and the tickets are purchasable through the Risky Rollers website. I am very excited for this. This is going to be top notch. I can't wait to see everyone fuck around with Mega Turret. Can't wait for someone to not like their Mega Turret dies and they didn't even get to shoot it once.
I feel like putting it as like the final mission as well was a fucking statement. Like,
it is.
Like this is your last memory of the day. Mega Turret.
Mega
Good fucking luck.
I'm more looking forward to watching a Mega Turret wipe out the opponent's army.
Yeah. Sometimes you get to that point where you lose 3 gunfights in a row and you're like, fuck it. I'm just going to spend 4 coordinate orders to shoot you with SMGs. Maybe Mega Turret dies. Maybe it doesn't. We have had some feedback. We have had some feedback about Mega Turret. And someone said they're too easy to kill. And
Interesting.
I was like, oh, okay. Did you
Maybe
play with cover? And they went, no. And I went, oh, maybe that would help.
Maybe we need to give them MSV1.
That's a good idea, Jordan. Maybe we need to give them MIM6 as well. Because, you know, you can take MSV2. That evens the playing field.
There we go.
Can you give it marksmanship?
No, it's a tag. Well, it's technically HI, so no. It's not buffable. Thank the Lord. Anyway, guys, we'll move on from this to our topic of the day. New rules.
The first of our topics of the day.
The first of our topics for the day. All right. Yeah. The big one.
Yeah, so over the past couple of weeks, especially since the delay of N5, we've been getting a ton of N5 tidbits, N5 spoilers, some of them in rules, some of them in profiles, a couple of them have been equipment. And so that's what we're looking to go through today. So the first one, and probably the biggest one,
it is
I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Is the new aerial rule. So this is the rule that really makes the new sort of vehicles like
unique
function,
jet bikes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's what makes them what they are.
Yeah.
So the new aerial rule essentially allows the vehicle. It's more of just like restrictions of what the vehicle can't do than what it actually can do. Because it's got a whole bunch of other rules that allow it to do what it can do. Is it cannot be prone and cannot be engaged. It never counts as contact with anything, even if it's actually physically touching them. And it cannot declare cautious move. So that's the restrictions on them that's supposed to represent the fact that they're essentially like flying vehicles that are flying in low to avoid getting shot.
Yeah. What I do really appreciate with what CB is doing with this is like every new profile, new rule, new piece of equipment where there is any chance for confusion immediately has a little rider sent with it that explains anything that could be confusing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people still don't read it.
They've done a pretty good job of being clear about it.
Yeah.
So with this, not so much a rule, but aerial is only like one part of what makes the new vehicles what they are.
Yeah, the
So
the rest of it
if
is
we
like the jet propulsion and the no cover basically is like the
yeah, so if
universal rules.
yeah, so if we bring up the profiles, the basic jet profiles, they all have aerial, which essentially just means they can't touch anything for the most part. They all have super jump, jet propulsion. I think they all have jump, but 8 inches.
Yep.
And I guess their movement is really the only thing that makes them like the movement and no cover that really makes them unique. So they're all 8-2 movement.
The
Which
the Gizmo kit with extra fizz, I think makes them pretty unique as well because you can't get in base to base with an engineer. You can only Gizmo kit them. So the fact that it Gizmo kits on a better number like than everything else is pretty weird.
yeah, I suppose if you want to like as it drives by, just see if you can hit it with a gizmo kit. Which funnily enough would be hard because they got the mimetism.
Yeah, well, mimetism
Which
doesn't apply when they're unconscious though, so that's
well, they're
a
structured, so
bonus.
you could do it when they're conscious.
Yeah, you could, but
Yeah.
And mimetism doesn't work against your own things.
Doesn't it?
Like I don't think I don't think a friendly engineer has to take mimetism into account.
Yeah. Regardless, the only other thing that sort of makes them also unique is sort of like the mimetism -6. We'll go into one unique example of a difference in that, and they also sort of are like I don't know, like differently moving tags. They're all relative. Well, they're kind of heavy infantry armor-ish, depending. So, like the Pano one is 6 armor, the rest of them are 3 armor. But they're also all S7s, which means they're huge.
they are very
they're
big.
enormous.
Right? They're very
Also,
big. They can't.
the Pano one is the only one that has remote presence as well.
It's classic Pano.
It's classic Pano.
Yeah.
What do you fear? What emotion is evoked from these troop types?
I think it's interesting. I think that there's. I think you can see with the 4 of them that have been revealed so far, there's a lot of design space there. I also get the vibe that a lot of people haven't played with Vanilla Aleph before and talking about how difficult these things are going to be to kill. Because speaking as someone who's played a lot of Uteros and a lot of Hippolyta, Mim 6 Impetuous no cover, like it's only Mimetism 3 and yeah, you hit these things and they're gonna feel it because they don't get the bonus to cover.
Yeah.
I think people are overestimating how difficult they are going to be to interact with.
Yeah.
The other thing is I wish they're negative to hit, and I know like well CB is supposed to be trying to avoid nesting. Is I feel like mimetism -6 doesn't necessarily quite fit with them because you get an MSV2 and these things lose all of their bonuses.
It kind of thematically fits though. I mean, it's MSV2 is not just like thermal or heat vision or anything like that. It's also like laser tracking guided system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like it cuts through. Yeah.
I suppose I'm just being old N3 descriptions of ODD and stuff like that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it's. I think they're a bit strange. I think they are 95% an offensive piece. I don't think they ARO well at all.
Oh no, God no!
I think they could potentially really suck on certain tables. We've had certain Pano players say they want to take 2 red eyes, and you're like, that's the equivalent of taking 2 tags, but it's basically a medium infantry in cover. Yeah, so it's really not that good, like defensively, and they're big as fuck. So obviously when they jump and stuff, it's really good. They can vault a lot of things, and they jump from the top of their base. But yeah. Aside from that, you might only have one place to hide an S7 model, let alone 2.
I feel like they would have done better giving them like combat jump or something like that to like get them in and out, something like that. They just feel
I would not be surprised. Yeah, I would not be surprised if one of them that gets spoiled has combat jump or parachutes. It's a very natural rule to sort of staple onto one of these.
The other thing for me is like I look at the profiles and like especially when I look at the red eye, all I can think of is why wouldn't I just take a cheaper bulleteer?
The hypermobility.
Yeah, I think that the key
I
point of it is the
suppose.
hypermobility.
I
Like
suppose, but
bikes have a whole bunch of rules that specifically limit how mobile they're allowed to be because moving 8 inches is a lot. These don't have that restriction. So you're going to see people cutting some really wild movement with these because of the jet propulsion and like measuring from the top of their base. Like these are
yeah.
going to move around a table very quickly.
And I'm not sure if it interacts this way, but it can just move through shit, I'm assuming, since it's technically never touching. So long as the base is planted legally, it can just fly over it. So you can't body block it with a warband or whatever, and the warband can't engage it. So you can just fly
Well,
into the enemy DZ.
Yeah, you
If
could
worst comes to
100
worst, you just can't. You just jump over it.
like 100% you can't body block these things because they cannot be engaged. So there's no way for them to be trapped anywhere.
Yep. Which, yeah, like you chuck a red eye suppressive or something in the middle of the table, and like the only thing that can deal with it is, you know, smoking and trying to CC it. Otherwise, you're just going to try and shoot it.
Yeah, I
You
mean
could- you
it says in the rules they're never in silhouette contact. So yeah.
Yeah. Like you can see that CB are trying some really, aside from the Pano one, they're trying some really interesting stuff with like the weapon loadouts as well.
Yes,
Like the
Oh.
28-point Yujing one that is entirely non-lethal.
is amazing.
I don't think it's good. I think it's interesting.
Yes.
I think it is exceptionally interesting that they're trying that, and I could see someone's day being ruined by it.
Oh, absolutely.
I could see it as a really interesting like stage dive at a tag. You just unload the EM, shut down a tag, and you've only sacrificed 28 points.
Yeah.
They're all relatively tough, right? They've at least got
Well,
two structure. They've got at least two
three
structure.
armorers. Three armorers.
Yeah, I know. It's
rough.
a bit. They're a bit squishy on the squishy side. Again, other than the red eye.
Yes.
But 2 wounds, you might get lucky and it survives. The fire bat has nice sort of interesting-ish loadouts with the thunderbolt, the light rocket launcher.
I don't love
just
it.
the thunderbolt. Yeah,
I don't love it.
I have to wonder
can
if the
see-
Thunderbolt was specifically designed to be put on these fucking pods.
Yeah.
Because I am not a believer in the Thunderbolt, because every single Thunderbolt that someone has said they're interested in is like, yes, I love my Thunderbolt +1 burst, AP, +1 damage.
That's
Like,
that's kind of the asterisk, isn't it?
Yeah, that is the asterisk.
These profiles
of the
are
Thunderbolt.
amazing because they have a +1 burst thunderbolt. And you're like, yeah, it's a burst 3 gun, not a burst 2 gun.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I see why you like it.
Mm.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about
Yes.
the unique?
I will
one?
say, so the other thing, the Yujing one also has sensor. So I think honestly the Yujing one might be the most popular, aside from maybe the Pano one if it ends up being a really good gun platform, depending on what else is in the faction or whatever. But having a 8-inch super jumping sensor is fucking mwah. Mwah.
Especially S7 as well. It's a huge base
That's
to censor from.
Yeah, that's a massive sensor range.
Yeah.
Like if your meta is full of tack and whatever.
Like
right,
what is
that's
that?
gonna be
What like a 10-inch sensor bubble almost?
Yeah, almost.
It's 55 mil, which is what, 2 and a bit inches. It's like 2 and a quarter.
Yeah, 2 and a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, about
It's like
a little
10.
bit over.
Yeah.
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 That's wild.
It's a
So
huge bubble.
8 inches in each direction plus 2. 18-inch sensor bubble. That's pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
So we got one other profile, the GoPod for Nomads.
Of course, the Nomad one had to be fucking wonky as shit. Like,
Yeah. So most of the stuff is still there. Aerial, no cover, super jump 8 inches, right? Same sort of movement, similar-ish sort of like the structure and BTS kind of thing. The main difference with the GoPod is that instead of having mimetism -6, it has mimetism -3, but it also has BS attack -3.
Yes, has its mimetism split in half, and only applies
Yep.
the other half when it shoots.
Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, so there's no cover.
And it's got the
as far as
plus
the
one burst.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah. It's got +1 burst BS attack, which I mean that heavy rocket launcher profile is looking kind of nasty.
Stupidly
Of course
cheap.
it is.
Fucking heavy rocket launchers.
It's also -1 save as well, so it's
Yeah.
it's effectively SR5. Is it? It's
But-
not. Is it
Oh,
SR?
yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, SR5 with the template SR.
Is it
four
S? Is
with
it
the-
SR or is it SP?
It's
It's
Fucking.
It's got
It's
the
damage
Viking.
15, guys.
It's got +1 damage.
It's got
just
+1
the new
damage.
word for it.
Yep.
It's also got attached to it this GoBot, which is just sort of like a little flying robot that follows.
You
it,
say
has a
little. It's
chain pole.
S5.
Okay, yeah, good point. It has a very large robot, but it just follows it with a chain colt and the flash poles.
I love the
You're gonna
GoBot.
lose if you lose this thing. You're gonna be like, okay.
Oh, its existence is going to be posted up on a fucking corner. Like, I'm going to flash pulse you, or I'm going to chain colt you if you get too close.
Honestly, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you with the potentials. So, let's say your opponent has their fucking burst 2 tick belang on ARO, which I imagine Jordan will be throwing out every single game. You have your GoPod and bot, and your tick belang has to ARO against either the burst 3 HRL or the free flash pulse that it's going to take.
Mm.
So you
But yeah,
can be throwing out free flash pulses against things that, might be a bit hard to crack.
Yeah, you do that. Fuck, I had the word. What's the word for it? Splitting your ARO or whatever it is.
Tristan, I do have, there is a small problem with that scenario.
Yeah, okay.
The GoPod is BS. The GoPod is BS5.
Flash pulse uses whip, my friend.
Oh, it uses whip, you're right. Whip 13. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah.
do it. Wow, how did I forget that?
It's because you kill shit. You never use flash pulses. You just kill shit.
No, I think it's because it has a BS number, even though it doesn't shoot. I'm like,
Yeah,
it
if
has
I
to be
open,
there for
I don't
some
know if I can
reason.
open a panoply, but yeah.
Oh my
Can someone
No, they
remind
can't.
me?
They can't interact with game pieces.
Can someone remind me if synchronized is the one within zone of control, or is it any distance?
Yeah,
Zone of
no,
control.
zone of
Okay.
control. Control is the infinite range one.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I think the HRL for 30 points is really good.
Yeah, it's great. It's great for like making a bunch of forks. Can't believe I just looked at it. Why the fuck is a multi-rifle and an E-meta more expensive than a heavy rock launcher and AP submachine
Because
gun?
the Swick is doing the heavy lifting.
Oh my
A +1
God.
damage HRL, by the way.
Yeah, and +1 damage AP submachine gun is incredible.
Well, it's a burst, and it's a burst 4
Burst
submachine
4.
gun as well.
This is the best vehicle of all of them.
I think it is actually it's armor 2, right? That's like the trade-off.
That
there.
is the
It's armor
trade-off.
2.
It's
Yeah.
paper.
It's armor 2. Its mimetism is worse, so if it ever has to do with something that isn't BS attack, it's in trouble.
That is the other thing as well. If it puts itself in a shit situation where you reveal an ARO, if it's either maybe shooting on really shit numbers to oppose the -3 on you, or if it dodges, you're probably on flats. So,
Yeah.
and it's paper armor as well. So you're like, I don't give a fuck. I'm hitting you on a 12 or a 13. You have 2 armor.
Like, I don't know if I'd call the others like finesse pieces. This one feels like a bit of a finesse piece.
Mm.
Like, I think if you're someone who really liked like figuring out an efficient stage dive with like a motorized bounty hunter, you're really going to attach yourself to the vehicles, and this one especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's a bit of like a scalpel.
Mm.
A big scalpel, admittedly.
Yeah. I really like this. I think it's cool to see CB like trying new stuff, because when I heard vehicles originally, I was worried.
Yeah.
But these are fine.
I thought we were gonna get like infinity rhinos.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought we were gonna get like there were like guys were gonna like come out of them and stuff. I was like, oh, Like, and yeah, I think everyone pretty much called it as soon as we saw the rules, where it was like, oh, super jump jet propulsion. It's like, oh, that's how car go. We found the cargo rule.
Hmm.
Yep, it's a flying motorbike.
It's a flying motorbike. It's great. Big fan. Do we want to talk about how immunity has now been split into like a million different rules, essentially?
Yeah. So what we've got here is immunity enhanced is as our example. So immunity enhanced is essentially the renamed immunity total. But this is what's kind of getting me is that CB seem to be re-nesting rules because immunity enhanced is immunity armor plus immunity BTS. So what do those two mean? Because that kind of confused me as well. Immunity armor is any type of ammo that does something weird and wonderful to your armor. So AP, explosive, DA, monofilament, K1, I guess.
Yep.
You are immune to all of those. Immunity BTS is anything like breaker, viral,
Flash
EM.
pulse, EM.
Flash pulse. You're immune to those. Obviously, immunity enhanced is just the same as immunity total. You are immune to all of those.
That is BS text as well. So you're not allowed to ignore fucking hacking programs still. Because I saw that was something that a couple of people thought as well, as they thought like immunity now meant it worked against fucking comms attacks.
Yeah, so it is, any CC attack, any ranged attack, well, ranged weapon and CC weapon, you're immune to special ammo.
I like splitting immunity total up. I think it would. I'm not sure if this is real nitpicky, but maybe just have profiles with immunity enhanced. Just have immunity arm and immunity BTS, so you don't have a third keyword. I don't know.
I think it's just saving space on profiles.
Potentially, it's super minor, but
it's aggressively minor nesting.
It's aggressively minor.
This particular one, I wish they just kept to what they used to have, which is immunity total. You are not affected by any ammo types. Done.
I think they wanted to split it up so they could make more interesting profiles with immunity options.
Absolutely.
And give counterplay against them that wasn't specifically viral if you were playing against Ariadna.
Yep.
But being able to...
You could have just added immunity armor and immunity BTS and not changed immunity total.
I mean, right now we have, like, the sort of nesting where you have, like, oh, I'm total immune, vulnerability viral. It's like, well, what does vulnerability mean? Like,
yeah, fair enough.
No, I really like that they've added the basically two halves of immunity total. It's really good.
Again, I'm generally always in fan of something that gives developers more options to develop more interesting profiles. Because before they only had total immunity, and total immune had to be a very costly skill. Now that you split it, you can kind of divvy it up around at lower costs, which I think is just a good thing in general.
Yes,
and it lets you balance things. It lets you balance things a little bit. Like it's the difference between shock immune and immune total is 1% and 100%. Like having bears and McMurrow and wolves and all that only be immune arm is really Ariadna themed, but it also means people won't be fucking screaming about how bears are OP all the time.
Well, it means the things that should work against them now do. Like being able to like flash pulse a bear if they are only immune arm. We don't know that yet, right?
We don't. No.
Is good. Like that's a universally good thing, and does a lot to blunt the Alpha Strike complaints.
Because I'm talking about this to a couple of people. Immunity BTS is something that would be really good for things like the Ratnik and the Blackjack, where their tech is so simple that if you shut them down with like EM ammunition, they press a button and they reset their armor.
Yeah.
Or it's just hydraulics. Like there is no computers.
Exactly.
Immunity
BTS for them is actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of cool thematic, flavorful stuff you can do with it. And I'd be very interested to see if profiles that are currently immune total with like vulnerability viral might swap over to being immunity armor alone.
Yep.
and to see
Yeah.
what that sort of does for like points costs and stuff like that. It's
Mm.
really interesting. I think it's a good way to give CB more design options.
Yep.
And yeah, honestly, good rule, good change. I'm not sure how I feel about the next one.
You don't know. Okay.
Yeah,
It adds more words on profiles.
Yeah, so we got this was revealed with the what was it called? The Kaisot?
The
Kyosot.
Kyosot, yeah.
Kyosot, which is a Morat profile we'll talk about later. Where we got the rule +1 SD, which is +1 special dice. So we've talked about it before with the martial arts and
The
the
fire
fire
team.
team rules giving like a pseudo burst or like a half burst where you roll an extra dice, and then after both of you have rolled, you've looked at your dice, you have to pull one of those dice out of your pool. So you don't get, if you succeed at everything and completely beat your opponent, the dice you have to pull out one of the successful hits.
Yeah.
So this is something that they can add to a profile or to a weapon. That means you get that pseudo
+1 burst.
burst to whatever you're shooting.
I really like that they clarified a bunch of stuff with this slide. So they clarified that it doesn't use an extra piece of a disposable weapon.
Does nothing for template weapons either.
And they clarified that if you're splitting your burst, you have to pick before you roll where you're putting your reroll.
Yeah, where you're putting.
So you have to allocate your reroll.
Yeah, I like that they've given it a name, because until now I've just been calling this rule advantage, essentially.
Yes.
And it's nice to have like a word to put to it.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about doling it out outside of fire teams, especially on pieces that can also go into fire teams. Because now you're going to have to remember stuff like, oh, I'm rolling, 6 dice. I've got to drop 2 of them, though.
Yeah.
Like, the stacking is a little bit weird for me, and I don't know if it's something I would have wanted to give to outside of fire teams, because I think that keeping certain things inside of fire teams as, like, reasons to go for them is a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where some of my hesitation with this rule comes from.
I think potentially this rule should be like a limit of you can only have 1 special dice when you're shooting, just to keep it simple like that, instead of having to try and pull out 2 dice or something like that. Just to let like this be for like solo pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's neither here nor there, but I kind of get where Jordan's coming from, where a lot of the rules we're getting now, I don't know if it's because we've played this edition for so long, but the game might be getting, I'm not going to say needlessly complex, but there is a lot more stuff to remember. And that's saying something with Infinity.
Yeah, there's more stuff to remember. And again, my main issue with it is that I don't necessarily like taking like unique fire team mechanics, which this one sort of was with the BS attack, and moving it into sort of this kind of evergreen, anything can sort of have it, even stuff that goes in fire teams. That's where my hesitation with it comes from. Again, it's good that we got all the clarification for how this stuff works for like disposable and stuff, but again, I'll need to see it in practice. Look, if I roll 6 dice, I have to remove 2 of them. It's fine. Like I'll adapt to it very quickly, but it's just one of those things where like you don't, double advantage is it's a weird thing.
Yeah, well, it also changes the process of the game. Because realistic, like, if you're only versing 1 opponent, or you're only shooting at 1 thing, you can roll 6, drop 2. But when you start shooting at 2 things, it starts getting real fucky. And you have to remember that.
Like,
and
I assigned 1 here, 1 here, like,
Yeah. But you can't just say, I put 3 dice into both. You could say, I put 5 real or 4 real dice into that guy, and I'm putting 1 plus 2 rerolls into this guy.
Yeah. I think it is a good rule in a vacuum. I don't know how I feel about how commonly it will be implemented if the Kyosot is sort of like a sign of things to come, like we saw with like the BS attack -3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where my hesitation comes in.
Hopefully it's semi-rare.
For sure.
And I don't know, I mean, they've put it on, like, on a meh profile, at least what it was in N4.
Yeah, it's
So
on the
we'll see.
martial
We'll
arts
see where it
table.
goes.
Yeah, it's on the martial arts table as well. So I'm not saying like this should only be a fire team thing. I think there's a huge difference between going from 1 dice to 2 dice in
Martial
punching,
arts,
and
yeah.
then shooting going from like 4 to 6
Yeah.
dice type stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm being an old man yelling at a cloud.
Mm.
Let me have this.
Just to clarify, everyone, it's a really good rule because it changes the face-to-face odds, but doesn't increase lethality, which is probably the big negative of just adding raw dice to martial arts. Was if someone has an explosive CCW and then naturally burst 2 or burst 3, it's just ridiculous at that point. So
Yep.
being able
Yeah.
to change the face-to-face odds and not the lethality, just as Jordan keeps saying, adds more flexibility to profiles and just things in general.
Ooh, this is one of the next one I've heard so many weird complaints about. I don't get it. It's
You'll have to tell me. I haven't seen the complaints.
okay. Go ahead.
But yeah, so this is the next new rule. We first saw it on Adil, which is the betrayal character, big like interrogator dude from Yujing, is Warhorse. So this is for the most part a rename of Veteran. As it was pointed out to me when it first came out, it's probably mostly been renamed like that to distinguish the veteran category of
Of
troops
from
and the actual
skill.
skill itself.
Yep.
However, it now has the addition that a troop with Warhorse is immune to any BS attack
Minus X.
minus X. So the primes minus BS -3. If you have Warhorse, you are immune to that -3.
Very simple.
Good.
So
Good.
What were the complaints people were having about it?
The name. They were like, I don't understand. Veteran made sense. Why is it now like Warhorse makes no sense? And it's like you understand like the reason why they had to change the name from Veteran to Warhorse or something different is because of the confusion that would come from like, oh, he's got the veteran skill, but he's not a veteran troop for like, and they're like, oh, they could have picked a better name. It's like fucking what? Like,
It probably sounds really cool in Spanish.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, go back to N3 where everything had a goddamn name, and you had to remember the difference between hyperdynamics and kinematica.
Yeah, like it's
right. It's a war game. There will be stupid names, and yeah, I agree that like Warhorse doesn't have quite the impact of Veteran, but all right.
Yep, and we did get it later confirmed that Morats are still veterans or still war horses. So
yes, which you mentioned is a good sort of
compensatory buff for losing 2BS essentially with the fire team changes. Yeah, it's a nice way to sort of mitigate some of like what Morats are losing more than almost every other faction because they were the ones who could really flex the plus 2BS that you would get. I don't know what else they might get as well, but it's a good start. Sort of is the Warhorse rule being pretty universal for them. It also makes a lot of sense why they had to remove the Raicho from Vanilla Combined Army.
Oh yeah,
because a Warhorse tag in a generic army list, you're not stopping a fucking Raicho. The only thing that's stopping it is like a Mim 6 piece now.
What?
I'm just thinking about them giving the Surya immunity arm.
No.
Yeah. What do people think about? Do you think it was necessary to combine veteran with this new negative, like ignore BS attack, or should it have been a separate rule?
I don't necessarily think it. No, I don't think it should have been separate because I think if it's a separate rule, then it's just like adding another like very specific counter to let them put more base attack -3 in the game.
Yeah.
By combining it with another rule, it's a automatic facelift for profiles that had veteran before.
Yep.
And it's a nice way for them to then be able to introduce that base attack -3 into the game without needing to essentially create a whole new rule whose only purpose is to allow something to ignore the base attack -3 skill.
Yeah, I mean, it brings up. I'm just going to make sure that they had it.
I am.
Yeah, it brings up like the Yadu, which were almost like not a great profile in OSS. Now
Yeah.
that they ignore that sort of stuff, I mean, I'm gonna just go for it. Like what BS-3 used to be and what Veteran sort of represents thematically is you've got BS-3 used to be because you had full auto, so you were just spraying down your opponent and like, forcing them to put their heads down. A Veteran's not gonna do that. So it kind of makes sense of, hey, I am a warhorse. I've been doing this for ages. You firing a shit ton of bullets in my direction is not going to scare me. I'm not going to be bothered by it. So, sure.
Yeah, thematically fine. I am nervous to try and teach new players all this stuff. We seem to be going towards nesting rules again, and
That's been my issue.
Veteran might be another one of those six senses where you go, oh wait, it does that, and it also does that, and it also does that. Like if someone's playing against Morats trying to learn, you go, sorry, you can't isolate me. Your base attack doesn't do anything. Putting me in loss doesn't affect me. And you're like, these three things seem not related to each other until you know the game.
I mean, that was already a problem with Veteran before.
Yeah, so
like his Veteran skills before then were completely unrelated to one another, basically.
Yeah. So they've denested Sixth Sense, but they've kind of re-nested Veteran.
Yeah. I feel like for simplicity that this may have been better being thrown into Combat Instinct and rewording it to be something about not suffering some sort of -3 when someone attacks you. But it's muchness, it's still sort of being nested into a different rule.
Yeah, exactly.
Strictly in a vacuum, I think it's fine. If you have only a couple skills that are nested, that's fine. But if this is a thing to come where we have a bunch more skills, like if camouflage and stuff starts getting re-nested with certain things.
The thing that I feel is separating this from like the previous editions of nesting is that it's not like 7 nested rules of like 7 layers of different things you're getting. It's literally, here's the skill, here are the 3 rules you get, and it's not like, oh, because you're this level of camouflage, you get this level of camouflage, and this level of camouflage, and this level of camouflage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, that was a bit ridiculous.
So long as I can click on the skill on the unit profile, it takes me to the page and it explains the things I get.
Yeah, we're not getting to the point where like I had an N3 where every single time, because I was playing Steel Phalanx at the time, every single time I play a new player, and I'm like, they're like, I do this thing, and they go, well, that's not on your profile. I'm like, yeah, but I have martial arts.
Yeah.
So this is all right. What I don't want to see in the rules is now like a rule comes out and then the next dot point is an immunity to this other rule.
Yeah.
I just don't want to see a million of those.
Sure.
All right.
On to probably something way less contentious next.
This is amazing and I love it.
This is cool. So this is peripheral ancillary. So we used to have with tags, like you could pop out a pilot and generally they're always a specialist. Now what we have is peripheral ancillary, which is I'm trying to condense it.
Place deployable pilot.
Yep.
Yes, it is a peripheral control.
Yep.
It activates.
Yeah, it's infinite range, isn't it?
It's in the text box next to the thing. So there's no limit in the operating distance between the trooper with peripheral ancillary and their controller. A peripheral ancillary does not deploy on the game table with their controller. Instead, the controller may deploy their peripheral ancillary by performing the place deployable common skill. If a peripheral ancillary is on the game table and is not in disconnected state or any null state, their controller cannot be part of coordinated orders, fire teams, or fire teams. If the controller deploys their peripheral ancillary unit or it's disconnected or null states are cancelled, the controller automatically stops being in any fire teams. They are in other rules.
Yeah, so standard rules for having anything attached to you using the peripheral rule can't be in fire teams. And
you can deploy it.
It is, like I mean, like what Tristan said, it is a deployable, at the very least, a pilot, if not a deployable specialist operative, and that's
Yep.
fucking cool.
Specifically in Yujing as well, which is this faction that does sometimes struggle to fit specialists into a list.
Hmm.
This kind of combines gun plus specialist, even though it's only a whip 12 specialist, so you're doing a little bit of like the Pano rigmarole there, but it's better than trying to put a Guilang in a list.
For our listeners,
No.
this is attached to a tag, just for context.
Yeah, so,
So
the,
this
the
is-
new Long Wang tag police.
They knew what they were fucking doing.
Absolutely,
So-
they were.
Before we do
Yeah.
actually get into the tag, if you don't mind me getting on a little soapbox for a second,
Okay.
what this has, what the preview of both the Long Wang and the Big Titty Gorgos has kind of spoiled for us is that it appears tags aren't actually copying any nerfs in terms of like skills. They still have tack aware, no cover or limited cover are sort of nowhere to be seen on the profiles, which means the only way it seems like tags are really going to change now is by becoming rarer in generic armies and points changes for ones that CB consider problematic.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little bit scary for me going into
Mhm.
N5, where BS attack, like BS numbers have gone down overall.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Soapbox done.
I mean, I think they're trying to make. I think N4 was had some attempts to make tags and vanilla a little bit more relevant.
Some.
especially when they did
Some.
fire team rule. Sorry.
I think over the course of like late N3, N4, tags got buffed like 4 or 5 times in a row. They're like, please use them. Please buy
Yeah,
tags
yeah.
and use them.
So then they still want us to buy their big hunks of plastic or metal if they're still in metal. And so they're not going to go backwards with them. Which, I mean, look, I like tags. I'll put them on the field.
Yeah, I mean, like fucking. I was already playing tags. Like, giving me more reasons to play tags isn't probably a good
exactly.
thing. The Long Wang itself is cool. Like, ISS getting a tag, it's an S6 tag, which I generally like personally more than I like S6 in terms of like the mobility you get in like being able to move around corners, the smaller silhouette size, meaning there's more places on a map to hide them. It's a fine tag. It's got the like the O12 vibe where you don't have like the lethal template. You've got like the riot stopper and stuff.
Yeah, it is trying to be a cop instead of an executioner.
Yeah. I like the heavy machine gun profile. I think the Mark 12 profile is interesting. And I don't personally have much interest in the NCO profile.
A couple things. So, adhesive launcher rifle means it's a burst 3 adhesive launcher. Really cool. I just thought of something. This is going to be a fucking spicy ass take, right? The only 2 tags we've seen have been a completely organic tag and this one. Am I correct in that? Okay. This tag has the ancillary remote. The Gorgos wouldn't have the ancillary remote because obviously it's a dude wrapped in armor or whatever.
Yeah.
We have seen in the army lists that there are specific pilot profiles separate of tags. What if every tag is going to have its pilot replaced with, or every remote presence tag potentially? Is this a remote presence tag? No, it's not. Every tag just gets the ancillary remote, and then pilots are a separate thing, which almost act like a little buff to the tag that they're connected to from the DZ or something.
That's what this sort of implies to me, is that they're sort of doing away with like tag pilots as like the rule. Because that did actually cause a weird amount of confusion in my experience of like the rules about like jumping the tag pilot out, if it's worth points and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think they might potentially be moving in the direction of like tags potentially getting these ancillary remotes, and then you have tag pilots who do different things.
Tag Evo hackers. Almost.
Yeah, who knows? Like it's a really interesting. It's again good design space, interesting design space. Let's see they do cool things.
Yeah, they may even, I don't know, they may even have like the pilot rulers they deploy in the tag or something like that.
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Honestly.
The other cool thing about this is it's the second specialist tag that we've seen so far in Infinity. The other one being the Stigmata.
Well, it
Stigmaton.
itself isn't a specialist, though.
Yeah, I know, but it's the closest thing we've got to another specialist
Oh,
tag.
wow. It basically is a pilot. It just lets you activate the tag at the same time while the pilot's out.
Yeah.
Keeping in mind
it's-
also, that pilot's S1. He a tiny little boy.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
a little guy. He a very
Um,
very little guy.
Yeah, and this is also a mean tag. BS14 BS attack -3. It's a mean tag.
BS14 on your like S6 tags is like that's something you look at and you're like, oh okay, this is like legit. Like
Yeah,
usually you pay like the BS13 tax when you move down to S6 unless you're Pano. This doesn't pay that tax and it's love and life.
and I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
like the NCO profile. I don't know, like why are you hard up on that? It's the same as the top one, isn't it?
Because it's 2 points more expensive. I'd rather just
2 points for 2 points for NCO considering the classified.
It
deck.
depends on
That's
the
awesome.
lieutenants, really.
it depends on the lieutenant. I
Yeah,
don't
right.
I don't like reaching for optional NCO profiles. I'll reach for a NCO profile that's sort of baked into a unit, but the optional NCO, unless it's on stuff like I'm sorry, I can't actually think of
A specialist?
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't think of like optional NCOs that I really like. I know people like the Zeta, but like why not
Do you
just
like
take
the
Zeta?
Strider? That's my favorite fucking NCO.
Yeah,
He's not.
like, I
She's
like-
not optional though.
That's it, not optional.
What about the Vidok Doctor? Do you like the Vidok Doctor? You don't have to take the NCO.
Well,
He's
you're already
linkable.
taking- That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like the optional NCO profiles because they cost
Oh.
more.
I thought you did like a couple of them.
I actually tried to think about it,
And
but
you
I'm like,
couldn't?
because I was thinking about the Zeta, but then I'm like, because I know people like the NCO. I'm
But
like,
you just take the Alpha.
you just take you just take the lieutenant with a Ment.
Or
Like,
yes,
because Ments are so
yeah,
fucking cheap.
yeah, you do.
Yeah,
one,
okay.
One final thing that this has confirmed in the rules, which is different, is that if you start the game with a peripheral, you can't be part of a fire team. But if it goes null, you no longer have that restriction on yourself.
Which is good.
So,
Which is also interesting because if that goes for other peripherals, that's things like doctors, if they lose a peripheral, can then become like batteries for a
link team, yeah.
For a link team. I don't know if it's going to flow into other peripherals, but it might.
Yeah, it probably will. Because they're mentioning it in a tag, and what you're gonna see. The thing is, if you're taking 2 long wangs, and
You can't say that. You just can't say that name without it
double
sounding
long
ridiculous.
wang. All right,
Like, you just got 2 long wangs on the table, you know, just staring at each other. Oh my god!
Oh.
All right, onto
Alright.
a definitely a less popular rule from the
Yeah,
initial
this
reaction
one-
to it.
Well, I mean, look, this one is just like, hey, do you want to waste at least one order?
I know, right?
Transmutation is nothing new, but normally it's just transmutation, either I think auto, which was for the Sujan. I don't think
Yeah,
there's
like a
anything
short
else that can
skill.
transform. Oh, there's like the bike that can
There's the
transform.
bike, or it was stuff like symbio armor, or like
Well, I
battle
was going to say
ravage.
symbio armor was the one where, like, if you took enough wounds, you would transform into a different profile.
Yeah.
This one is transmutation whip, which seems to be that you just make a whip roll and improve your profile
Yeah,
for the
as
rest
it's
of
a-
the game.
As the, yeah,
the
it's
rest
a
of
short
the
skill.
turn.
Yeah, rest of the turn. It reverts at the end of the
Oh.
turn. But
Yeah,
that lets them make the flip side really good.
yeah. They get very, very good when they transform, but I think as one of the comments, and it was my thought exactly, is this thing's only whip 13, and all of us have experienced having to spend 4 fucking orders to roll that whip 13.
Yes.
The idea of, hey, this profile is only good if you succeed at this roll is kind of ridiculous.
So part of what helps, specifically, I'll quickly read out so readers can sort of hear the difference. So the Switches Grouper is a Tunguska profile. It has FTO options. The main differences are in the bad state, it's 4-4, 6-4 in the good state, CC 15 to CC 23, BS 12 to BS 13, Fizz 10 to Fizz 14, Whip 13 to Whip 13, 1 arm to 3 arm, 0 BTS to 3 BTS, has 1 structure pretty much regardless. Special skills in the base state are just Courage and the Transmutation. When you enhance it, it gets an X Visor, it gets Berserk +3, Courage, Dodge +2, Dogged, Immunity BTS, and Martial Arts level 1. I think part of what kind of helps this one specifically is that because it is like fire teamable, if you aren't doing a lot with the second half of that short skill, you can just sort of do like one or two of them and then try and flip it into the good state.
It doesn't cost a skill. It's free. You do it when you activate, you make the roll and then you declare your skills.
Oh, really? Is that how that works?
It's
okay,
free.
Yeah.
When you activate a
when
troop,
activate-
before you declare its auto ARO, you can make a whip roll. If you pass, you transform. So it is free.
As part of a fire team, yeah, you just
As part of a fire team, you activate a different member and you can still make the whip roll.
yeah, it just walks forward. Yeah,
Which
this is fun.
kind of, I don't want to say makes it like redundant, but it's a really weird skill in the fact that like if you get really unlucky, maybe you don't get it, but it's free.
You can see the push-pull going on, like to see like, look, the fact that it is tied to a roll, even if it's a free roll, means they get to like
Make it cheaper.
the flip side really good.
Yeah.
Like again, it's priced to move.
My sort of issue with this is like, I mean, when you look at the weapons that it got, it's kind of got awkward profiles. I'm not necessarily sure what you're going to do with it in the first place. I suppose fight with it because it's got Berserk. But if you fail that, like, especially if you want a Berserk, if you fail that whip, you're like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, if that was your plan, and you failed the whip, you're like, I got nothing to do with that order now.
The plan,
like,
I
know it's free, but if your plan involves it transforming,
you know whether it transforms or not before you declare a skill.
But like, if you're like, I want going to walk around this corner, like I want to walk around this corner, and then the next order I want to Berserk. And you're like, okay, so I want to transform my guy before he's visible. You roll and go, I fail. And you're like, well, now I can't walk around the corner.
Yeah, well, you just do something else then. You can either retreat it, or you just try... But again, in the scenario you're presenting, right? Presumably it's had to walk up the board to get in a position to Berserk something. So every order you've spent on it, getting it into position, is a chance for it to try and transform.
Also, keep in mind, it does it when it AROs as well. So,
yeah, you can do that. That's so funny.
It gets shot at, it takes a wound. Oh, I actually transformed during that ARO, so now I'm dogged. Okay. It's...
I don't fucking...
It seems like...
Do we actually know that it works in ARO, or is that just...
It says before declaring its order or ARO, you can make a rip roll.
Man, reading the skill explains the skill. Jesus.
This is one of those things, since it only lasts a turn, and you fucking roll it all the time, people are going to forget this. Fucking 9 times out of 10, they're going to forget what mode it's in. They're going to forget the difference between a turn and a round.
Yeah. I'll also point out to anyone's like, God, these guys haven't read it. This one is like the latest one that came out.
No, this is pretty old.
This is over a week old.
Yeah, this is pretty old. It's just a case of like, it's like reading like the nuances of the skill. It's definitely a thing where like you miss stuff. And
you glance over it and you go, oh, that's kind of weird. I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
And then you never look at it again.
On the face of it though, like I would take one of these in Tunguska. Like, it's interesting, which I think is cool. You have like the very obvious like gunfighter profile if you want to try, because it's BS. It's not just a Berserk bot, like it's BS 13
with an X Visor.
Yeah, with an X Visor.
The one thing I feel like this opens up for CB is things like Dog Warriors getting transmutation fizz or something like that, where they have to make... So instead of having to take the wound and potentially taking 2 wounds in like your base state where you've got less armor, you can go, I'd rather like lose that wound and be a Dog Warrior right now, like be the big Dog Warrior right now. So we might see some like this has a pretty strong profile change. We might see a bunch of really strong profile changes tied to these roles.
Yeah,
like Dog Warrior is doing like transmutation whip. That sounds like great. Transmutation fizz, love that.
Basing off what we've seen with the Gorgos, the transform profiles are going to share wounds between them. So a Dog Warrior would have 3 wounds base, And if it had transform fizz, it would just let you flick between them.
Yep.
So currently the Gorgos tag profile has 4 vitality, and the pilot has 4 vitality, but it only transforms after it's taken 3 wounds.
Transmutation was always a fucking weird skill, though. Like, they've made it a little bit weirder. It's like, alright.
They have made
Wait.
it a tad weirder.
If they
They share wounds between them.
So does this mean that if this thing takes a wound and goes dogged, it can go back into its other state and not die?
Well, it'll die at the end of the turn because it's dogged.
Because it's dogged.
Few pass.
For example, if the Gorgos pilot goes down to 1 wound and goes into little mode, you can heal him up from unconscious with Doctor 2 wound, and he'll be a 2 wound pilot. Theoretically, you can't get him to 4 wounds because of how Doctor currently works, but if you could have a 4 wound pilot because they share the wound skill or the vitality skill now.
Yeah, he just doesn't get the armor back.
So just imagine the Dog Warrior having 2 states and sharing wounds between them.
Yeah, I mean, like the transform, like for wounds, always sort of like, oh yeah, okay, so the Dog Warriors would be 3 wounds now, and they would have like
The profile
if they,
would have
if they
that-
didn't
yeah.
change, yeah,
The profile would have little mode, big mode, and it would both say vitality 3.
yeah. Which again, cool for Ariadna if they do get like transformation fizz, means that they can have a Dog Warrior with 3 wounds if they like do that transformation.
I really like that idea of being able to choose, especially this is obviously like I always want to transform, but having like S2 Dog Warrior versus S6 Dog Warrior and I get to choose or try and choose is interesting. All right.
Yeah, it also means like too many times I've seen like a Dog Warrior runs out, tries to throw a smoke, and you smack it for 2 wounds. You're like, great, I got 1 wound on my dog left.
Little side point, it actually fixes the issue of when you hurt a Dog Warrior and it tries to transform, but it's not legal.
Not legal?
Like if it's in CC, but it's backed into a corner, so the base won't fit.
So it can't fit.
You go, what happens? What happens? You got no idea. Well, now it just goes, you can't transform. Alrighty. New equipment. We're about to hear some weird fucking names, guys.
Yeah. So we've only seen a couple of things other than the weapons we saw, like the Thunderbolt and stuff with their old hat at this point. So we saw 2 new pieces of equipment. The first one being the Disco Baller. So in a simple sort of thing, it is a thing that you can deploy like a drop bear that that you can activate to make a Eclipse template centered on the Disco Baller itself.
And it's the size of a repeater. Like the thing you put down is like repeater.
Yeah, it's just like a drop bear. It's just like a mine.
Yeah.
You just pop it down. It's an S0 thing. And the biggest thing is that just like any other smoke or eclipse, it's on the table for the turn that it's activated, and it turns off at the end of the turn. You can reactivate it with a troop that's in line of sight or zone of control of the Disco Bullet that has the deactivator piece of equipment.
Make deactivators great again. Look at them go.
Yeah. Does it turn on straight away?
It'll turn on at the end of the order. Just like how, technically smoke isn't down until the end of the order.
Yeah.
No, I mean as in like when you put it down.
Yes, it does turn on when you shoot it. It is basically a pitcher that shoots Eclipse tokens.
Yep.
Should point out that activating it with the deactivator is still a whip roll.
Whip
So
plus
you're not
3.
guaranteed to turn it back on.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
God.
like you're like +9 because the deactivator is +6 in good range
Well,
and then
that's
+3.
but that's for the deactivator turning off like mines and stuff, not for it doing disco.
Yeah, you're
ball.
not using the deactivator. You're just performing the activate disco ball short skill.
Okay. Well,
So it's
I'm
just a
I'm
flat
blaming
plus 3.
Trent. Trent lied to me.
Yeah.
To be
So-
honest, you're on a 16 most of the time.
Well, that's the weird thing, right? The only things that really have deactivators are like a couple of engineers,
Sensor
and
bots.
like sensor bots or
Like Evo
baggage
bots.
bots.
Yeah, baggage bots.
Yeah, baggage bots. Oh yeah, which generally contain the Evo bots. So Are we going to see more deactivators for some reason?
If we see disco ballers, I think so.
I feel like this potentially like either all disco baller profiles, well, at least most disco baller profiles will have a deactivator, or I feel like this this piece of equipment should say the disco ballers controller, because I think the one example we had of the disco, well, the couple examples we had of the disco baller in Pan-O didn't have a deactivator on the profile as well.
Nope.
That's fine.
Again, it means you have to invest into like reactivating it if that's something you want to do.
True.
Yeah, and it's already super good. I don't really think they needed the reactivation clause. I think they just thought it was a cool idea.
Yeah, they thought it was a neat thing to try.
But it's kind of a pain in the ass now for anyone who plays against Pan-O, because you're like, I have to spend an order to kill this little fuck off token, otherwise Pan-O has Eclipse for another round.
Yeah, well, I think it's... Yeah, that's the big thing as well, like, that I was going to talk about with this. I'm concerned about this as the thing that Pan-O has access to. I don't know anyone, like, other vanilla Pan-O players, if they were like me. I took the Acontecimiento regular hacker in every single list that I built, basically. And now I'm just going to take the Fennec Fusilier hacker with Disco Baller in every single list that I build, and now I have Eclipse Smoke instead of a grenade launcher. Like, giving Pan-O the option to not take a fight that they would otherwise have to take previously is really scary. Being able to, like, bypass potentially unfavorable fights, even if it's for, like, that one turn, is dangerous. Like, yeah, I don't know how many of these you'll take, but, like, you'll take at least one of, like, the Fennec Fusiliers, like...
Yeah, Pan-O, it's attached
really,
to a really good profile in Pan-O.
Yeah, it's an incredibly powerful piece of equipment.
What's it attached to in KFC?
The Fennec Fusilier hacker with regular hacking device and Fast Panda. Unless I'm just smoking crack, which I could be, because I could be wrong.
No, I think that's where we first saw it.
Yeah.
And we're like, what the fuck is this?
The other thing with this is because it's not... I'm gonna have to take a look. Because it's not smoke, does it go through walls?
I think they'll treat it the same as smoke. If they don't, it's a bit stupid.
Because like, if it doesn't do that, my biggest fear is that it's like, you know, you put it on, like, if this is given to like any sort of infiltrator, it's gonna be fucking nuts.
Well, the other thing is, like, it's Eclipse from a pitcher range band as well. So it's actually probably the strongest form of smoke in the game that isn't Toha farts.
Whoop, nope, hold on, sorry. We were wrong. It's not the hacker that has them.
The Thunderbolt?
Yeah, no, it's the hold on, sorry, the picture is really small. It's the Forward Observer. So the 12-point Forward Observer has Combi Rifle, Flash Pulse, Disco Baller. The hacker has the Submachine Gun, Emitter, Fast Panda.
See, that's fine though. Like, if you think about it, 2 Fusils in a duo get a reroll, which won't use its disposable count. So you get 2 dice, and it's a +3 range from 8 to 16, which means it's hitting on a 15. So you get 2 dice on a 15 to put down Eclipse from 2 Fusiliers.
Just getting on top of that before someone in the comments screams.
Yeah, they've already done it. They've already cancelled.
100%. Yeah, little bit worse than I thought, but still fantastic. Again, giving Pan-O a piece of equipment that it's good as well that it's Eclipse specifically, because you don't want to give smoke shooting to Pan-O specifically.
Or give them white noise.
Yeah. It's, like I said, it's really powerful, it's really strong, I like it a lot. As a Pan-O player, I'm really happy that we're sort of being given these utility options. Seeing stuff like the Disco Baller makes me understand a little bit more why, like, generic Pan-O did kind of get gutted a little bit. Because, with this it would have been really good.
Oh, yeah.
Tim, look, I agree with you, man. Like, Pan-O should have utility, but we have to pay for the fact that we do have the best ballistic skill in the game. And that is unfortunately where we tend to pay, is in like the utility we have and being sort of forced to take unfortunate face-to-faces sometimes. Yeah, cost-effective.
I think the only thing that kind of makes me pause is it's on a Fusilier FO, which is presumably 12 points.
Yeah, it's 12 points.
So, and in vanilla, they might be AVA 3, 4, 5. So you might be able to take 2 duos of Fusiliers that one has a gun, one has a hacker, one has a paramedic, and one has this. Like, really good options, but you could just stack Eclipse. You could have 4 Fusiliers that just have Eclipse, and you have, effective burst to Eclipse in multiple spots on the table, and your opponent goes, oh shit, what's your reserve, and what angle is it coming from? Because I can't stop it anymore, because you got fucking Eclipse.
Yeah, if the people listening can't tell, this I think is a little bit sneaky in how, like, strong it is. I think people are kind of maybe distracted by how dumb the name is. It is a very,
it's
very...
a really stupid name.
Yeah.
It's an incredibly good piece of equipment. It's so strong.
It's really strong, because it doesn't fucking cost anything, and a Fusilier FO is already 12 points.
Again, though, we're going to have to see sort of how they play, right? Because, like, it's not guaranteed to go down. Like, it is a roll, like Smoke is.
It is a roll.
Again, it's super interesting. Super keen to see sort of what else is going to have it, and like what factional sort of access to Disco Ballers is going to be. It's going to take a while for me to say that.
I can't wait for the repeat. Instead of Jordan hitting me with the burst to pitcher on 5s, it's going to be the burst to Eclipse from a Fusilier on fucking 6s. Fuck this shit. You just dropped an Eclipse Smoke on my ARO pace. Oh yeah, I can't do anything. Like, literally, you don't even have to block something off. You can just shoot it, because it's pitcher range bands. You can just shoot it in front of the ARO model.
Yeah, well, that's the dangerous thing with it being like Eclipse as well. Like, the danger if it's Smoke is Smoke shooting and stuff like that. The danger of being Eclipse is that Eclipse is the no fun zone. Nothing happens through Eclipse. There is nothing that can ignore it. There is nothing that can see through it. It just guarantees blocks off an entire line of approach.
Yep.
What a rule. What a cool piece of equipment. Good job.
What a cool piece of... Okay, guys, I'm playing Pano. Woo!
Yeah.
This
is to see like where that goes into. So, continuing CB's tradition of giving their new equipment stupid fucking names.
This is a stupider name.
Yeah.
This is my most hated new rule of N5.
Considering the fact that they could have just called it like a real life example of it.
Like a
the bang
flashbang.
bomb. Yeah, they could have just called it a flashbang. But
why is it a bomb
flash
bomb?
grenade? But it is
it?
a bang bomb. So this is a... God, how do you... It's like an equipment-based bonus to your dodge roll, so long as the attacker is declared within... says line of...
No. So it's a bonus to your dodge, so long as you're being attacked and you know you're being attacked.
And it's not being attacked by a template weapon.
Right, yeah.
Stupid.
The way I read this, I thought it was going to be
disposable
within zone of control.
No.
Within zone of control. I
It's
looked
fucking-
at that,
it's
or
just-
it feels weird.
It's just fucking Pocket Sand from King of the Hills.
It's Pocket Sand, but it's
Pocket Sand.
It's stupid, and I don't like it.
It's a silly rule.
This is giving way too much nuance to try and differentiate between a flat dodge plus whatever. A dodge plus 3 model is only good if it's good in CC, or it has a bonus to the dodge roll, or it has triangulated fire. Apart from that, who gives a fuck? Just give it dodge.
I don't demonstratively see what this is doing that dodge plus X doesn't do. It's just that CB didn't want you to dodge well all the time, basically.
Or dodge well on templates.
Yeah.
Who gives a fuck?
Just super quickly, because I'm just noticing with these line of sights or zone of control, because we know silenced pistols exist now. If you're in zone of control with a silenced pistol, did they still get to react?
No, because it's silence. It's the same as like...
they do get to react.
But this says you get to react.
If you have an enemy model within zone of control and they shoot you with a silenced pistol, you do get to dodge, but they apply the -6 from the silenced pistol on top of that dodge roll. So you're dodging at -9 versus the shots of the silent pistol.
Yeah.
Then plus like whatever like surprise
then-
attack
then-
modifiers and
yeah.
stuff they have.
Then a surprise attack, and then you get to add +4 if you're the IR from your
Yeah, I
bang
mean-
bomb.
Look, it's gonna catch people, right? Like it's gonna make certain like things are gonna be more survivable because this piece of equipment exists. And I can understand them not wanting to give out because dodge +3 is a very good skill in its own right. Just being able to dodge better at all times is good.
Yep.
They want to make a way to they want to make dodging better specifically when you're getting attacked. I
Yep.
get that. I don't like it. I think this is as close to bloat as I think I've seen so far in like the
Yeah.
N5 previews.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a huge fan of this one.
It just feels unnecessary. It's just such a
Mm-hmm.
like a nuanced piece of equipment. Like, I mean, we'll take example of the IR. Like when you would use it, I don't know. I just rather kind of just shoot you with my pistols.
It's for reactive.
But I just
Like if-
rather shoot you. I'd rather just shoot you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation. But like, oh, the IR is getting shot from like within zone of control, but out of line of sight, and I basically get to ignore the negative to dodge.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
You didn't need to make a whole piece of equipment for it, and then give it
Also-
make it +4, which
also strange that like what we are, I suppose, in all of our minds are imagining is like a flash grenade works when you can't see the person, but they're close enough.
Yeah.
When normally you can only dodge then, but how can you use a piece of equipment? It's just weird.
I also cannot express in words how much I hate that it's like +4 and not just +3, +6.
yeah,
It-
yeah, it's a bit
it
stupid.
is-
That does
so
kind of piss me
upsetting.
off too.
It is
Right,
so
like-
upsetting that the IR is +4 and not +3 or +6. Like,
I mean,
don't give me patterns to recognize in your game if you're going to start ignoring your own goddamn patterns.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why they do
Wait,
that.
let's fucking skip this one and let's not stop talking about
Yeah.
it.
All right. So we have been given a whole bunch of new profiles. Too many to go over effectively during a podcast episode that's not going to be a million hours long. So we have picked some of our favorites to go over. The first being the resurrected and traitorous Patroclus. Or Patroclus. I don't know how you want.
History will say they were roommates.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the profile quickly. Anyone who played N3, he's practically the same with a couple of, I suppose, key differences.
I'm sorry,
So
there's
he-
a fucking nano screen on this profile.
Yeah, I'll get to that on the screen. Right. But yeah, so he is move 6'2, CC 22, BS 13, Fizz 13, Whip 13, Armor 2, BTS 6, Vitality 1. He's an S2, small guy. He has equipment, the Hollow Mask and the Nano Screen, and his special skills are Courage, Dodge +2 inches, Frenzy, Immunity to Shock, Martial Arts level 3, no cover, which is really just attached to the Nano Screen. No incapacitation, Specialist Operative, Stealth, and Surprise Attack -3 to allow him to use the Hollow Mask, I guess if he's appearing as
The Hollow
Achilles.
Echo.
No, the Hollow Mask.
The Hollow Mask, so he just disguised as Achilles, so you can have two Achilles on the field.
I thought surprise attack was normally on top of Hollow Echo because that's a marker state.
I think
Hollow Mask isn't a marker state.
count. Oh, that's a good point.
I'm
Maybe
pretty
it's
sure.
a marker state now.
Maybe
Because that
it
was
is.
a weird.
Oh no, sorry. Hollow. Sorry. So no, I take it back. The other,
It's on
the two
Hollow
of the profiles I go through. There's Hollow Projector. Sorry.
Oh,
The FTO
Yeah.
doesn't get it, but
Yeah,
the
it
FTO doesn't
might.
get it,
I don't.
sure.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah. So you got three profiles, two with forward deployment and Hollow Projector, which allows you to obviously make him into the famous three Achilleses if you want. One with a heavy rocket launcher, pulsar, smoke, heavy pistol, DA close combat weapon. The other one with a multi-marksman, pulsar, smoke, and medikit. He has an FTO profile, which is the multi-marksman profile that loses the forward deployment and hollow projector.
and it's 5 points cheaper. At the very base, right? No matter what else we say about this profile, Onyx Contact Force have a 35-point smoke thrower now.
Yes. So we know that they now have access to smoke, which is great. This gives me hope that they won't go nuts with Team Achilles. I am hoping that when we see the Team Achilles, that he'll going to be Vitality 2, maybe no wound in cap, some sort of like not the maybe no mimetism or just mimetism -3. I'm pretty damn sure he's going to have a nano screen.
Yeah.
Given
Well,
what we're seeing here.
we still don't know how a nano screen works as well, because with what we've been told, nano screen would now work with cover, so units that have nano screens tend to have no cover. So I'll be very interested to get a hold of what the nano screen rules actually are now.
I honestly think it's exactly the same, but they've added the design space for a unit to double up on cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's the thing with that is that nanoscreen already says that you can't. Sorry, I take it back. Partial cover already says that you can't get partial cover twice. So I'll be interested to see how they reword it to avoid that situation.
The way they would do that if they wanted to give themselves that design space, which this sort of implies they do, is that a nano screen now just literally gives you +3 to your armor and a -3 to be hit.
Yeah, potentially.
They just don't call it cover.
The only other thing I can think of is that they've added no cover in these profiles for things like the vehicles and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
so they can put no cover on other things. Yeah, so if anyone remembers Patroclus from N3, this is practically the same sort of thing. It doesn't have the mimetism anymore. But he's pretty much exactly the same as what he used to be. The nanoscreen obviously being the big difference. As far as the profile goes, I like his FDO profile. I like the multi-marksman rifle with the pulsar smoke.
I like the HRL.
The HRL's okay because it's cheap and it's not a whole lot of SWC.
One SWC is pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. But the main thing is that this gives me hope that because CA already have a ton of like really nice profiles. This makes me think that they're not going to go too nuts with Team Achilles. That Team Achilles is going to be like Achilles is going to be toned down a little bit. I'd probably say Toysa and the rest of them are going to stay about the same, considering that Patroclus has stayed about the same. Price point, you could argue that maybe like he's got a lot of skills, so he's probably priced relatively fairly. You could argue that the 42.1's maybe a bit expensive. Yeah, it's like you could argue for either way.
You're basically arguing that the HRL's too cheap.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
HRLs are undercosted.
But it's not the most amazing profile, but I think it shows hopefully the mindset of Team Achilles, which is reasonable.
Yeah, maybe more interesting, not auto pick units, and just really unique combinations of skills.
Yeah.
Again, literally the worst of all worlds. Onyx Contact Force have smoke now. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, I love the possibility that you could have a holoprojector threat of 3 HRLs that don't need cover up to 16 inches. So they always have cover, so you can put them wherever you want, and you don't know which one's real. So you just have a big threat or a range of this guy.
He's also just a specialist that starts in the midfield as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
He can also hollow mask and hide his med kit.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just cool shit.
And the other good thing, of course, is like FTO med kit, like fireteam med kit's always good.
Well, that's good now because you're rolling 1 dice.
Yeah, less good. But I mean, he's going to be attached to Team Achilles. The other thing about how good the FTO profile is will purely depend on the keywords and the purity. I'm assuming a Team Achilles is going to be mostly pure with themselves, but maybe not.
Again, we need to just see the rest of the profiles. This is a good intro to what they're sort of doing with combined army reconstructions.
I'm probably more interested to see, because this, like I said, this is almost a carbon copy of what it used to be like. I'm more interested to see like Drakios and Toysa, because
For
the
sure.
picture of Toysa is a plasma sniper rifle, and if he's what he is right now, but just with the plasma sniper rifle, I'm scared.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's
it's fine.
that's a great profile.
All right, I think, Jordan, tell us about the fucking absolute munted Pano bullshit.
Oh, fucking right, this dude.
This is just some good wholesome fun, honestly. So these
Tim,
are the
you
Hekatari
better be
shooters.
watching right now because you're about to cream your pants.
So these are the Hekatari shooters. They're one of the units from Beyond Sandtrap that was spoiled. They're a 6-2 moving, BS-14, Phys-14, Whip-12, 5 armor, 6 BTS, 2 vitality, S2 unit with marksmanship, BS attack -3, and immunity shock with 4 profiles, 2 lieutenant, 2 non-lieutenant, and your options are either a missile launcher or a multi-Red Fury for 1.5 SWIC or 48 points across the board. That multi-Red Fury is going to be good.
It's
Otherwise,
fucking linkable.
it's linkable.
I remember. I like now that you show me this profile. I remember when they dropped this, and it was just after you and I had a game, Tristan, and we were looking at it going, "What the holy fuck!" Like you look at the JSA profiles, and then it's like you look at Hatari, you're like, "What the fuck is this thing? This is insane."
Good. It's really good. It's linkable.
I mean,
I don't know how often you'll link them. I can see them just being played as solo pieces as well in like vanilla potentially.
I think
Yeah,
link
it's
it.
just-
You link it if you want the missile launcher as an ARO piece. That's about it.
Oh, for sure. It's super. It's just like Tim's saying. It's super. It's just very straightforward. Like
Yeah.
there's no frills. There's no bloat. It is the premium. It is a premium non-tag gunfighter.
Yeah.
It's just good. Like as much as Patroclus is like a huge sort of soup of keywords. This is clean. It's concise. It gets straight to the point. This is what it does. Like, and I think it's going to be incredibly heavily played, most likely.
I mean, marksman BS -3. It's just like, other than Warhorse, you just be like, oh look, you've got MSV 2. I don't care. Boom, dead.
Well, so I think that's good. Like, I think having ways to interact favorably with like things with MSV that aren't exclusively "Do you have a hacking device plus cunt?" is a good thing. Because until now, MSV has been really, really hard to punish as a skill. Now you've got some interesting options in terms of like how you punish MSV units. This is a really good way to punish random MSV dickheads.
I think this has actually been dulled a little bit since we've had all these new releases, because I'm going to have a guess and say marksmanship won't work against nano screen, and a bunch of units having Warhorse cancels out BS attack -3. So there are situations where it's not going to be able to use its whole firepower, and it's Whip 12, meaning you can brick it entirely, and if you don't have an engineer, it's not in the game anymore.
Yeah. Tim points out, it is still a Red Fury, which is damage 13. The us not knowing what multi is actually going to mean for it is doing a lot of heavy lifting. If it's the same as like a multi-rifle, then it's interesting. But until we know, we know.
I think it'd get I think it's going to either be AP shock or DA shock. That's my guess.
Yeah, one of the
and
two.
we'll see. I'm interested.
And we will see.
Like, again, it's just good, clean fun. Like, it's just some good, clean fucking fun.
I suppose it's just a really uncomplicated profile in terms of like you said, it kills things. It shoots
it's plug and play for every person who's been like, "Oh, N5 is so complicated." It's like, is it?
Yeah.
What does this thing do? Read it. Look at that.
It has a great model too.
It does.
That's a really good model.
Controversial opinion, I like its model more than the Blink Troopers.
That's fine.
I'm just gonna take a look. Currently, what's the cheapest chain of command you get? Oh, actually, they're quite expensive. Yeah,
it's the bolts.
You're not going to take. Yeah, you're not going to take the lieutenant. Pretty much ever.
Yeah, especially because there's no benefit to if you get cheap lieutenants anyway.
Tristan, do you want to talk to us about your pick as the budding JSA player that you are?
This is very similar to your pick, to be honest. We have the Jizoku Kogeki Tai. Another quite straightforward piece, except in JSA.
I want to pause here just to congratulate you on that pronunciation. Well done.
Thanks very much. For some reason, it says it's a skirmisher, but I highly doubt it's a skirmisher. It is
Yeah.
6'2", CC22, BS13, Fizz 13, Whip 13, 5 armor, 6 BTS, 2 vitality at S2. It has the Frenzy discount. It has MA3, Berserk, Courage, Dodge plus 2 inches, Immune Shock, Mimetism -3, and Stealth. For 33 points, you get a +1 burst HRL and an Assault Pistol. And for 43 points, much more interesting in my opinion, you get an AP HMG. As it currently stands,
Shut the fuck up! You're gonna take the fucking HRL
no,
every time. It is 10 points cheaper.
as it currently stands, this is the cheapest form of AP in a long range gun you can get in JSA. Whether or not that's changing in general, is to question, but people were frothing over the new tag because it's a 12-point cheaper version of an AP HMG. Well, this is a 30-point cheaper version of an AP HMG, and it gets Mimetism, and for some reason, Berserk still costs nothing.
Or I just pay literally 10 points less and get a 3-burst HRL instead.
You're such a basic bitch.
It's
Remind me what, like, martial arts level 3, that's, you get a pseudo dice and...
You get the +3, -3, and a pseudo dice.
Yeah, you get the pseudo
yeah.
dice.
But you get that on Berserk.
So it's, again, the best way to think about the difference between martial arts levels 3 and 4, martial arts 3 is really good at winning the face-to-face, martial arts level 4 almost guarantees killing whatever you're hitting.
Yeah, this almost is like the Hectare shooter, but it only shoots within JSA's bounds of good. And it gets the whole suite of JSA skills, being courage, stealth, martial arts. It doesn't seem to pay too much for them, which I'm kind of confused at when we look at the other JSA profiles that seem to pay a lot for close combat skills. This doesn't seem to pay much.
You know the reason why I think the HRL is going to see more play as well?
Oh, absolutely, we'll see more play. I'm just saying
you feel better using it as a Berserk piece because it's cheaper.
100%. 100%. And it's not even a shit Berserk. It's a damage 16 APDA. It's fucking, it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really fucking good.
Also, 2 wounds means it's pretty likely to survive the Berserk too.
Yeah.
And 5 armor.
5 armor.
The only bad thing about it is the only linkable options it gets are with the Jizz Samurai, and they're 20 odd points each for 1 wound dudes with fucking shotguns.
I don't think you're gonna link this very often.
Nah. Garbage. Hot garbage.
Like it's not like the Domaru where you sort of get the Banzai, like all of them have Berserk.
Yeah.
Like if the Jizz in my eyes had fucking Berserk,
it'd be great.
I'd be interested.
It'd be great. And I think it makes more sense for them to have Berserk than this thing. Because they're like mid-20s points for 1 wound. And this is 33 points for 2. And it's 5 armor. And it has a Swick weapon. What the fuck?
I think you might find that you might link this guy in Shenbutai just to cancel out that frenzy.
For 20 points? I'd rather just take another... I could take a second one of them. Well, maybe not.
No, it's AVA 1.
Yeah, well, maybe in Shenbutai.
Armor, loss of -3. Anyway. I do wonder whether this is indication of maybe changes to the Domaru. Maybe like some extra drop in points for them, because this is practically their profile with an incredible gun and mimetism. It's a really good profile with a really good gun for 33 points. I don't think that like a Spitfire Domaru is.
Yeah, but Domaru in general, level. Like the other Domaru, like 20 something points, aren't they?
The base Domaru is 21.
Yeah. So like, how much is the Spitfire?
I'm wondering if they might even go to 19.
30. The Lieutenant level 2 is 33, and the base one's 29 or 31 or something like that. It's not. Okay. It's
a little costly.
Yeah, it's a little costly. It suffers from like early N4 syndrome.
It suffers from availability as well, right? Like being able to take so many of them. That's what I mean. Being able to take so many of them means they sort of have to be a little bit more costly. Like this can afford to be as cheap as it is because you get one of them.
Because you get one. Yep.
Like you don't get multiple of these fucking things.
And it's hackable as well.
I think. Did you get 2 of them in Shenbutai?
No, we don't know. Anyway,
I'll take a look.
Hold on, I'll go take a look really quickly.
Someone might have, but yeah.
I think we get two. I think you do get two of them, but whatever.
You still can't link them together. So yeah, it is kind of like a souped up Damaru that has the option of berserking. Again, I will harp on this. Berserk is just any skill that guarantees hits is fucking incredible in Infinity.
Yep. So Jacob is correct in Shenbutai. They are AVA2 again, but that is depending on like which chart is correct. Is the unit profile correct here, or is
this might be the vanilla?
I was gonna say this would be the vanilla JSA one.
Well, this one is very clearly mislabeled already because they're labeled as skirmishes. So
yeah, it's not. They're not reliable.
Yeah, and I think technically when you take a look at like beyond JSA, it's listed as the FTO, which isn't here.
That's fine. So you might in Shinden you might take two of these and a Jizz to keep them together. It's like over 100 points. Oh no, it's not. It's like 90 points.
And that's not everything. We are also talking about a couple of profiles that were submitted by our other two lovely hosts who could not be here tonight.
Alrighty, this is a fucking profile. Let me tell you.
Reek Mansouri, fuck me. I saw this and my jaw dropped.
He's good.
Yeah.
Alright, I'll run through it and then Jacob, you can froth about him. Tarek Mansouri, medium infantry, 6'4", CC 23, BS 13, Fizz 14, Whip 15, 3 armor, 3 BTS, 2 vitality, S5, BS attack -3, CC attack -6, combat instinct, dodge +2, immunity armor, natural born warrior, religious, stealth, super jump 8 inches, terrain total, warhorse. You have two types of profiles. You have a AP Spitfire +1 and a Pulsar +1 burst, and you have an AP rifle light shotgun Pulsar +1 burst, and they both have a lieutenant option. And the other AP rifle,
hold on, the
other AP rifle has a tactical awareness profile.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob.
He has had a fucking glow up. Like Mimetism -6, natural born warrior, so he's great in combat.
Mimetism -6, CC attack -6.
Sorry, CC attack -6 with natural born warrior, so he's great in combat and doesn't take any sort of minuses. Immune to BS -3 and applies BS -3. And then he's just everything else he used to be with, like, oh man, there's just the AP across the board with all of his
Warhorse.
weapons.
I forgot to say Warhorse.
I think you said Warhorse.
No, you did say Warhorse.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Well,
and he's picked up the immunity armor as well.
Yes. So flamethrowers, he doesn't care. AP, he doesn't care. Missile launchers, he's only taken 1 save.
Yeah, it's good. I really like what CB have done with your profile selection here as well. If you want the AP Spitfire, you're not getting an additional order unless he's also your lieutenant. Great, love that. I love that CB are like, if you want additional orders, there is a cost associated with it.
Yeah,
it's also 4 points.
Yeah,
for the Spitfire.
Yeah, and the cost literally being like, you either take a worse gun, like objectively just a worse gun, right?
Yeah.
Or you pay the difference.
Yeah. So yeah, he's lost BS a +2 damage, which again hurts his rifle profile, but he's gained AP on the Spitfire, which obviously means as soon as you're armor 4,
yeah,
he gets that
it makes up
BS
for it
back. He's got his CC attacks have like changed in the way that they're done. But I think they're just flat -3 and -6 is just better.
Well, yeah, he's always going to be, unless he's facing something else that has CC attack -X, he's always going to be on 23s.
Yeah.
No, he has natural born warrior. His CC, can his CC be reduced with that skill?
I thought
or is it just martial arts?
I thought natural born warrior still referred to martial arts.
I think it says your CC stat can't be reduced.
Oh, sure then. He's always on 23s then, which is good.
Yeah, I think so.
And he's gained
super jump 8 inches.
and he's gained the veteran skill.
Yes.
Yep.
Which you didn't have before.
Jordan, do you know how that super jump 8 inches works? Because I don't. Does it apply to both moves? Is it only one move?
I think it's only the first. You can't. I don't think you can go. I don't think you can jump. I want to say.
Well, because
it might mean that he can jump 8 inches with like the super jump thing, and then move.
I'm
to-
confused.
It's probably somewhere in the rules for jump, which were in like the preview week type stuff.
Yeah, like
Um,
I understand jump 8 inches because jump is a
Yeah.
whole order.
The way it reads to me is that you get like the 1 8-inch super jump, and then the rest of your short skill after that.
Yeah, so he's almost 8-4 because you're pretty much always going to super jump.
Well, because you break stealth.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Anyway, we need some clarification on that. Some people have suggested that he could super jump 8 inches twice.
Actually, you know what? I think what it might be is that if he uses the super jump, like the actual super jump, it's stopping him from doing a 10-inch super jump.
Maybe.
So instead of being able to combine it, because then he could launch himself across the table.
Yeah, well, these profiles have seemed pretty nuts.
Even ignoring the super jump thing until further clarification, or we go back and read whatever information has already been published. It's a good call. I like him a lot. I think he's good.
Yeah.
Again, he's still S5, right? Like, he's still a big boy. There are still costs associated with playing him. Like, even with immunity armor, he's still armor 3 BTS 3.
Yeah.
I think the only downside to this profile to the old one is that he's lost immunity to critical.
Yeah, sure.
I'll take immunity armor over immunity critical.
Sure, probably going to see immunity arm more than you'll see immunity critical.
Well,
immunity arm is generally just the better skill, right? Like,
yeah, well, like you got to see DA at explosive and AP ammo.
Like, unless CB decide that immunity crit means you like it's not an auto win suddenly. Like, immunity crit it's a very niche skill. It's a very good skill, but it doesn't generally hold water over like real defensive skills.
Yeah.
Also, one of the few profiles that is going to ignore surprise attack.
Yep, with combat instinct.
Yeah, not sure how valuable that's going to be, but it might dissuade people from. Yeah, I don't know.
You get almost. I mean, I know you can with mimetism, but you almost can't minus anything to any of his stats except with mimetism.
Yeah.
Like surprise attack doesn't work. The minus BS attack doesn't work.
Yeah, he's pretty immune. That's kind of his thing, I guess.
Yeah, which is good because being the super soldier that he is, he needs to be.
Alrighty, yeah. Jordan, hit us up with the Morats.
Okay, I'm gonna umbrella everything I say with a quote from Rob Cantrell's previous video, the Shakush effect. Everyone thought the Shakush was going to be great at the end of N3 because it was one of the first tag profiles spoiled, and it was like, oh my god, it's sort of cheap and everything.
Not just spoiled, it was added to the game in the last months of N3.
This is very much feeling like one of those situations where people are seeing this and they're like, oh my god, it's so good. It's like, yeah, but I need to see the rest of the Morats because the rest of the Morats are going to make this probably look not so good. This is this is the Kyosot Killing Platoon. It's a 4/4 BS13, Fizz 12, Whip 13, Arm 3, BTS 6, 1 Vitality, S2 unit with BS Attack T2, BS Attack +1 special die, CC Attack -3 for fucking reasons. I don't know why that's there. Immunity Shock, Mim 3, Religious Troops, and Warhorse. So what this has confirmed is that it does appear that Warhorse is going to be like the universal skill for Morats, much like Veteran was. Which is good. As I said, we talked about it earlier, like a nice uplift for Morats considering what they're losing with the Link Team changes. Onto his profiles, he has 3 profiles. The one I think you'll probably see one of these. There's 2 you'll probably see the most frequently. The one I think you'll see is the Kyosot with the X-Visor AP Marksman Rifle for 31 points. Or the Multispectral Visor level 2 AP Submachine Gun Chain Colt for 28 points. I don't think you're going to see the 23-point profile, basically, ever.
Yeah.
The issues I see with this, I think it's really cool. I think it's going to live and die by what the sort of link team numbers for it are. If it does start counting as Morat, which it doesn't currently, the multispectral visor profile does look kind of appealing, but if there's somewhere I don't want my one wound troop with the MSV, it's within 8 inches of an enemy to shoot them with a submachine gun.
Yes.
It's very much gonna like live and die by like what the fire team chart ends up saying and what the surrounding Morats end up saying, right?
Yep.
Because 31 points is pretty close to like Surgat point.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, it's this profile even now was always sort of a tricky one to use because it broke purity. It's like it's like a profile that wants to be midfield but doesn't have like a forward deploy or anything like that.
Yeah, and
this,
again, it's a one wound guy is the big
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
right? Like it wants to be inside of 8 inches because of that the MSV2 profile. What the guns it has do, but it's a guy with one wound. Maybe because of templates being really pulled back with like the shotgun changes, might give it a little bit more airspace than it previously had.
Yeah, I think so.
But I am still very skeptical. It is very much going to like live and die by what the fire team
Yep.
chart ends up saying. But I am really thankful that we got it as a spoiler because we do kind of see what the template for Morax is going to be. Still religious and warhorse now. That's great. And I believe it's the point. It is cheaper than the N4 variant, and it is gaining the MSV2 over the MSV1 that the old one had in N4. Give me just 2 seconds. I will go check the army app. This is probably something
I got it up. It's gaining AP on fucking everything, and it's generally cheaper. The marksman rifle's gone up by 1.
Yeah, the marksman rifle's gone up by 1. The MSV profile has gone down by 1 point as well. And yeah, the marksman rifle gained the X visor, so it did go up by 1.
I think so. As you say, Jordan, it lives and dies on the fire teams. I think if this can link purely with a Vanguard, there's a serious argument to just have like a 44-point duo that is throwing around 3 dice and 2 rerolls. That is APT2.
Yeah, with the AP marksman rifle for sure.
Because that's actually decently cheap if Morats keep all their silly cheap warbands. And it just has the potential sometimes to be like, hey, tag, you're dead in an order.
Yeah. Unless you can link it with something to take advantage of something. Yeah, it needs that pure keyword.
Yeah.
Even then by itself, it basically... I will say basically has +1 burst because if something fails an armor save against it, it's taking 2 wounds anyway.
It's a mean guns, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
again though, 31 points is Surgat numbers for a 1 wound guy.
31 points is a lot of points, yeah.
28 points is a lot of points for a 1 wound guy. Like
with an SMG, and SMGs are cheaper now than they were.
With an SMG and a chain colt, it's a lot of points for a 1 wound guy.
Yeah.
I think though both this and Patroclus has pointed out that a lot of these profiles will depend on because purity's like extra important in N5 for like profiles like this.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that are like it's an okay profile. Like you said, the main thing about this is the warhorse. We need to know what it could do in a fire team.
It is a really good indication to me as well of what a lot of the changes are going to look like for profiles going from N4 to N5. Like, there's nothing groundbreaking here. It's very much just a, like, facelift, some points adjustments, making, like, some, like, little upgrades. Like, there's nothing, it's not big sweeping changes, it's just, like, nice, clean little changes to try and make it a little bit more attractive to people to take.
I think you're right in the fact that this was just put out to be like, hey, guess what, guys? Boom, Morats, Warhorse, you are immune to BS -3.
Yep. Yeah, I think that is I think that's about everything. Do we have any final thoughts today, boys? I'm excited. I'm really excited. All the new rules are really cool. I really like that we're getting profiles. I wish we had have gotten the
Have-
app update last week, but oh well.
Have we because have we seen a vehicle, like a flying vehicle, in every faction, or has it just been really the ones that have been spoiled?
We've
I
seen
don't
we've
think
seen
we've-
every army list. I don't think
don't
there's
think I
another
s-
aerial
remember
that we haven't seen yet. I think we've seen them all.
Hmm.
I don't think Huck has one. I don't think
I don't
CA
remember
doesn't have
Aleph.
one. Toha doesn't have one.
I can't remember if Aleph does or not.
I
Maybe.
don't remember. I mean, Aleph. The only new unit in Aleph was the fucking K2 Auxiliars.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So how are we feeling in general?
I'm very happy that N5 has turned out to be way more of a rework than was kind of initially proposed.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like, they're seriously throwing a spanner in the meta in terms of, like, you look at things like the Hectare shooter and you go, what the fuck? And then other stuff starts releasing. Like, today we've got the new TAC tractor mule, and you're like, holy fuck, this is in Ariadne and it shoots this well? Fucking hell, okay. So
Yeah.
it seems like every faction's really going to get a glow up in, like, every way.
Yeah,
I
which is
feel-
good.
I'm sorry, John. You go.
Oh no, I was just saying it's good. Go ahead, man.
I feel like we're gonna see like the level of things sort of change. Things like I feel like Yujing's heavy infantry, like for IA and stuff, is probably going to sort of shift around. I think the fact that they don't have to mess around with like the rules as much as they did from going N3 to N4 means that they can focus a lot more on
Profile
like
nuance.
yeah, or like what's the identity of like Yujing or Pano or Aleph, where they can go and say, you know, Pano's supposed to be really good at shooting. Well, they've only got like the bolts with marksman, or I don't know what else they have. Right, let's give this really good fucking shooter to be like, this is what they're good at. Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you take a look at JSA and it's almost like they can't not give a profile insane combat.
Mm.
No, it wasn't like when Steel Phalanx for Blackwind came out, you had a whole bunch of like combat profiles in like kind of a close combat army.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
nice to see that like in JSA they're like, no, everything just fucks you up as soon as you get with like in close combat with it.
Yep. I think the aerial rule is really cool as well. That's the change I'm sort of it's definitely like a big step, I think, for CB in terms of like adding new tools for them to design with.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the only thing I really just am not a fan of is just the stupid bang bomb. Like I don't like it. I think it's a bit of a flop for me personally, but you know, one flop out of how many hits, right? Like
It really seems like they're shooting their shot and just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And
100%.
that's exciting.
It's also something that like in their algorithms they can be like, it costs 0 points.
Yeah,
And if you have it, you'll use it maybe once or twice before N6 drops. And it's like, okay.
and then watch out for disco balls. I can
Watch out
see
for fucking disco
I can
balls.
see those becoming a real problem.
Wouldn't it be funny if all like disco ballers just replaced all of Toha farts? So like,
Yeah.
what, they don't fight? They just run around with disco balls? What the fuck are
That's
you
right.
talking
No,
about?
I want I still want Toa to get the fucking first aid fart.
Yeah, sure.
I want to watch them repair things through the wall.
Oh god.
So yeah, there's so
Alright.
so much shit in the works, guys. Fucking get excited,
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah. Put
Thanks.
you know what? Put in the comments what your favorite spoiled profile has been.
Absolutely. Let us know. Get
'Cause
in the
there is a
Discord.
ton we have not touched.
Get in
Yeah.
the Discord. Get in the episode discussion. Let us know what you think. And until next time, I've been Jordan, joined by Tristan.
Yeah.
And Jacob.
Ew.
And we'll see you next time.
Good night, guys.